A new Star Wars movie is hitting theaters for the first time in 7 years. It's been 7 years. Yeah, that's right. We're old. I was invited by Star Wars to come have a backstage tour of the new movie Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu, and I'm going to reenact my exact reaction after I got this email. In 2020, when we were all locked in our homes, do you know what I did besides crash out every day? I made an entire Mandalorian cosplay out of cardboard. Yep, that's all cardboard, baby. It took me like 2 months, but that's how much I love The Mandalorian. It's also how much free time I had, because I was obviously unemployed. Anyway, now I had no idea what to expect from this movie. They've been very coy with the trailer releases so far, which is how I like my trailers. I don't like them spoiling everything, but I had no preconceived notions going into this. And what I learned was really cool. So I want to share it with you. Let's get into the vlog. I wasn't planning on making a YouTube video of this, but I just felt so passionate that I wanted to yap for 20 minutes about it to someone, and no one in my family will tolerate hearing me dump a bunch of info about Star Wars onto them, so thanks for tolerating me, I guess. So Star Wars asks, do you want to take a backstage tour of Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu? And I say, did the Millennium Falcon make the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs? So I pack up the Mandalorian top that this is actually like a 12-year-old boy's costume that I thrifted and sewed, and my baby Grogu that my mom told me in 2019 was not worth $25 and flew down to LA. After arriving at the studio, I ordered a Grogu matcha latte that I could barely drink because I was so excited, and from there we headed to the first set, which you will recognize, and this is the first thing we have to talk about, because look at this fully immersive set. You might be thinking, yeah, thanks, I have eyeballs, I can tell, it's like a set, yay. But in the age where you can CGI everything, I feel like practical sets really add to the groundedness of a film, and I will talk more about this in a bit, but I just want to let you know how much I was holding back tears. I think everyone who has ever loved a story has dreamed of being able to step foot into that story, and getting to experience it here was, oh, I don't want to overuse the term a dream come true, but it really was. The holding back tears was interrupted by a few special visitors. Oh yes, these are the BDX droids, real-life robots that are an amazing technological feat. You might have seen them at Galaxy's Edge, where they were first debuted. They can dance, they can jump, they can realistically respond to guests in real time. I felt like I was actually talking to a droid from the story, like a real living, well, not living, can I use the word living for droids? Or is me asking if they count as living offensive to droids? I'm so sorry, 3PO. And this is the first reason I'm excited for this movie. Right here, you see we have this perfect blending of an immersive set and of having things be practical and real, but also of innovative new technology and taking movie making to the next level without losing the magic of why we love movies in the first place. We also got a visit from the man himself, or should I say the Mando himself, ladies and gentlemen, Din Djarin. No, that wasn't Pedro Pascal under the mask, but a girl can dream. It was really cool to have this interaction, and I was like, wow, what a great day. I'm so glad I got to see the set. Like, that was even more cool than I expected. My brothers in Star Wars, we weren't even halfway done. I step into this room that has the most incredible Star Wars props I have ever seen. And now I visited the Lucasfilm office in LA, okay, when I filmed with the cast of Skeleton Crew, and I've also visited Lucasfilm in San Francisco when I got to film a commercial for a Star Wars game. All that to say, I've been very fortunate and lucky to see some cool Star Wars stuff, but this room blew me out of the Sarlacc pit. The amount of props, characters, like, bro, that's Max Rebo. I got to step into the Razor Crest. That's right, the Razor Crest is back. Din Djarin said, I don't want that sleek, shiny sports car. I want my beat up vintage truck back. I need a vehicle that has enough space for me and my baby's crib. So I'm trying to take this all in when all of a sudden, I'll let me from last week explain what happened. I feel like my head's exploded. I can't feel my hands. So I'm just walking around, I'm looking at all the props, and then I turn, like I'm standing here like this, okay? And then I just turn around, and right there, maybe like 10 feet from me, is Jon Favreau. I like to think I'm pretty good at remaining professional, okay? And like locking in and like not fangirling when I shouldn't. But I'm like, I do this, I'm like, oh, like a comedically over the top, but completely involuntary, because I did, like, when did Jon Favreau get here? Like, by the way, I'm like a huge clearly a huge Jon Favreau fan. That man is the GOAT, okay? He just gets it. He knows what to do to make a good movie, and then he does it. And then if he doesn't have the tools to do it, he invents the tools to do it. But I was literally standing, like, if you see any pictures, I think Disney was taking pictures, if there's any pictures of me, I was literally standing there like this, and I was like this. And the reason I was standing like this is because my hands were shaking. And I'm like, I can't be shaking my hands in front of Jon Favreau like a crazy person. He looks at me, and he's kind of walking in my direction, and he says he's like, oh, do you want me to like sign? He points to my baby Grogu, which is my bag. He's like, do you want me to like sign? And all I can think is, Jon Favreau's in front of me, offering to sign my baby Yoda, my little Grogu, and I don't have a pen. I don't have a pen. Oh my God, I don't have a pen. I don't know if I verbalize I don't have a pen. I might have just done this. What? thankfully one of the very kind members of the team had a Sharpie. I think he said, like, is it okay if I sign the back of the head? And I'm like, you can do whatever you want, Mr. Jon Favreau. Because at this point, I'm thinking, I have like 5 seconds. I don't want to take up this man's time. So I had already previously in my brain reenacted out what I would say if I met Jon Favreau. Not because I thought I would ever meet him, but because sometimes I have like a weird, like, what would I say if I met this person who I completely am a huge fan of? We're gonna have to accept that that's a strange thing that I do, and we're gonna have to move on with the story. I rehearsed the speech. What's the speech? I rehearsed it. I planned it. I pull it out of my brain, and I say, thank you for creating stories that make the world a better place to be in, and thank you for sharing your innovation and genius with us. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of people who are, you know, telling him how much they love his work, but he was just, I don't know what the word is, like, gracious, is that the word? Like, he was very, like, I don't mean to say like performing gratitude, because that makes it sound like negative thing, but I like, he was very kind to me and like said like, oh, like, thank you so much, that, you know, like, he was very kind. He was very kind. That's all I'm trying to say. And that sure made my day. That sure made my life. That sure made my existence. Oh my God, my hands were numb after that. That was crazy. So his vision for this film was that he wanted it to feel like an adventure. Not just an adventure, but the kind of adventure the original trilogy felt like. And I think we all know what he means by that. We all know how it felt to watch Luke gaze at the binary sunset and hope for something more, not knowing he was about to embark on the greatest adventure of his lifetime. John, can I call him John? No, I should be saying like Mr. Favreau, put some respect on that name. He told us that he wanted this to feel the way you felt when you saw Star Wars for the first time, because he knows that for some people, this will be the first time seeing a Star Wars movie and seeing one in theaters. Yet he also knows there's an audience of lifelong fans coming to see this film, so he really wanted the film to be a gift to both those audiences. And that's what I've always felt like was one of the strong points of The Mandalorian. You don't need to know everything about Star Wars to love and enjoy The Mandalorian. I've heard from people who have actually never seen a Star Wars movie and they loved The Mandalorian. It works really well because Din Djarin also has no idea what's going on. Like, he has no clue who Bo-Katan is. Bro hasn't even met a Mandalorian outside of his weird cult. You are watching the story through his eyes, so you don't need to know more than him. Works great. And I love that it sounds like the movie will be the same. Like, it'll be lots of fun if you know, say, who Zeb is, but it will also be entirely accessible if you're like, who's that big purple guy and what's he doing on my screen? Where's Pedro Pascal? Jon Favreau told us that this movie can stand alone, but if you know the wider story and what's to come, you will also see how it ties in. Now, for the second thing he talked about, which is how he wanted this to feel like the original movies stylistically. One thing I loved how he phrased was that Star Wars doesn't have to feel perfect. With Star Wars, you have a license to feel a little ragged because things like puppets are part of the iconic visual style of Star Wars. Like, this is not a perfect futuristic sci-fi movie. This is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It feels lived in. So to go along with that, not everything in the movie is CGI. They made miniatures, they used creative perspective, which if you watched the behind the scenes of Elf, because I did, because I love Jon Favreau, we know that he's been using creative perspective for a long time. He knows what he's doing. And something that I didn't know was that miniatures were also part of the original Mandalorian show. So they used the volume, right? But they also used practical effects within the volume. And I think that's why the volume looks so good and immersive in the Mandalorian specifically, because it's a combination of practical effects and like really cool new digital technology. So they were like, all right, go eat. They were so kind to give us like this food. Look how amazing this is. But I was like, how can I eat at a time like this? I just met Jon Favreau. I just met one of my favorite, if not my favorite, filmmaker of all time. I feel neither hunger nor thirst nor pain. I am riding that high for the rest of my life. I took one to go. This is like I think they said it's a cupcake in a jar, and it's like a little Mandalorian and Grogu cupcake in a jar. And guess what happens next? We get to go to IMAX headquarters and see the beginning of the movie. We were some of the first citizens who got to watch this, and we were watching it with Jon Favreau and some of the other creatives who worked on the movie. Like, what? Spoiler-free reaction. I just felt a kind of like euphoria when I was watching it is the best way I can describe it. Because it was a combination of, first of all, seeing Star Wars on a big screen for the first time in so many years. Like, guys, my TV at home is from like 2007, okay? Watching Star Wars movies on that TV is not the same experience as an IMAX screen. I'm just gonna say that. But also seeing Din and Grogu together again, continuing their story again, like, they are the beating heart of this. Star Wars to me, at least why I like it, has always been because of the theme of found family. Obi-Wan loving Anakin like a brother, and then when he lost Anakin, he's still like loving and protecting his son and daughter. Kanan and Ezra like healing each other's losses by fitting into the gaps of what they each lost. There's just something that feels so Star Wars, and something that is just so deeply moving to me about a story of a lone Mandalorian who lost his own family but was adopted into the clan, going back and saving Grogu, who he then loves and adopts as his own child. The last thing I will say is that The Mandalorian has always been unique because it's a story that anyone can see themselves in. You can see yourself as the main character, as the Mandalorian, regardless of your age, your gender, your race. The main character being faceless makes the story universal. I mean, I'm like a 5'3" Asian girl, and I remember watching season 1 like, holy moly, I am living vicariously through this. I want that character to be me, hence the cardboard cosplay. In summary, in conclusion, from everything I've heard, I just really appreciate and admire what the filmmakers did with this movie. I think there's a lot of, again, love, care, thought, and innovation that went into making this. And I think, if nothing else, that originality and creativity is certainly an accomplishment. And at the end of the day, this is just a story that brings me joy. Seeing these two characters find each other and become family brings me joy, and I am just very excited to cry over a dad and his kid flying through the galaxy in their beat-up car once again. This is the way.
This is the way.